Y'all call him Tay Savage, bro. I call him John Wick. Let's start there.
Tay Savage was born, Dwayne Timberlake. People call him the Michael Jordan of armed robbery, or Chirac's bully, but FYBJ Main calls him John Wick. We'll detail the murders of Princess, and Neef, from the set of gangbangers representing his primary enemies, 757, and the horrific killing of a kid, not much older than me, on a basketball court that followed. We'll explore John Wick's relationship with King Von, Mubu Crump, Tay 600, Lil Reese and more. Who is more savage? King Von, 051 Melly, or John Wick? We report, you decide. John Wick was born on November 11, 1991, to his mother, Sheila Jackson, and father, Wayne Timberlake Sr. He moved from the 7600 block of South Racine, an area known as Rock Island, to an area in Chicago known as the Low End, as a teenager. He was a black disciple that repped the hood, so icy, until the murder of his best friend, Anthony Welch, and the creation of Welch World. Before there was King Von, there was Tay Savage, and this is his story.
Tay Savage, King Von, 051 Melly. Who would you think was the most savage?
I gotta give it to Tay.
John Wick's war, with his main enemies in the Low End, turned deadly with the murder of Stefan Holloman, from the gang, So Icy, on January 7, 2006. So Icy controlled an area in the Low End, from 40th and St. Lawrence, to 43rd and Cottage Grove. Stefan was not in their territory when he was standing on the 6900 block of South Dorchester, and shot multiple times around 9 AM. Word on the street is that John Wick caught his first body when So Icy retaliated against 757, by killing Kamain Fears, also known as Insane, from a gang called Lawless, 035, on December 12, 2008. The gang known as 757, is actually an alliance between three different gangs of mostly gangster disciples, some black disciples, with a few black pea stones thrown into the mix. Rock Nation is located on 27th and State. Lawless, a BD set, is headquartered on 35th and Rhodes. The Avenue Boys, or the Avenue, operate from 37th in Indiana. The alliance got its name from their locations on 27th and King Drive, 7, 35th and Rhodes, 5, and 37th in Indiana, 7, producing the 757 moniker. Early in the morning on the day of his death, Kamain Fears was lying in bed next to his girlfriend. He got a call on his phone. "I've got to go handle this," he told her. He went outside. She heard gunfire. She looked out the window and saw a hooded figure leaving the scene. The man turned and looked up at the window. She was afraid he saw her. Knowing how her boyfriend operated, she said, no one could get close to him unless he knew them. The shooter or shooters took 2 cell phones off his body, so it couldn't be determined who had made the call that set him up, and retrieved all the shell casings. The streets pointed at So Icy. Since Tay Savage was already earning his reputation as John Wick, and a bully in these streets, it is not surprising that his name has surfaced as the main suspect in the murder, but there is evidence that an even more dangerous killer than John Wick was responsible.
The Invisible Institute published a story, in The Intercept, titled, Code of Silence, How the Chicago Police Department Covered Up for a Gang of Criminal Cops. Ronald Watts is the disgraced former Chicago police sergeant responsible for one of the city's worst cases of police corruption. He, and his team of officers, shook down alleged drug dealers in the Ida B. Wells housing projects, planted evidence, and falsely arrested innocent residents on drug charges. The end result, over 200 wrongful convictions that were eventually tossed out or vacated. That's a feat in Cook County, known for its checkered history with criminal justice and official corruption. In 1995, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development took over the Chicago Housing Authority's public housing projects, and decided to demolish the high-rises. Demolition began at the Ida B. Wells homes in late 2002 with the high-rise buildings on Cottage Grove Avenue. As the demolitions progressed at Ida B. Wells, Kamain Fears moved his drug operation to 37th in Indiana. Ronald Watts came around, seeking to tax him as he had at the high-rise buildings. Kamain refused now that the high-rises were down, and threatened to give the crooked cop up to the feds. A few days later, Kamain was killed. Please like this video, and subscribe for more from us, and let us know in the comments section below whether you think Commane was killed by John Wick and his gang, So Icy, or if he was killed by a crew of killer cops.
So now, Tay out. Tay out, he doing his 1-2, all the car crackers with him. He sliding folks out of 3-4 pipes by himself. He out here just, he him. I ain't gonna lie, like he is who he is, folks. He riding around 3-4 30s by himself with his homies, sliding, taking, treating savages like goofies, robbing folk, pistol whipping them out in broad day. He terrorizing the city.
On April 2, 2010, Jermaine Streeter was gunned down on the 3800 block of South Michigan Avenue by Anthony Welch and his best friend, John Wick. Jermaine Streeter, or Maintain, was a gang member and one of Princess Streeter's cousins. Princess Streeter, or Cess, was in these streets for real. She sold drugs and slid on her ops with her best friend Christopher, Neef Daniels. There's a common misconception that Cess and Neef were a ghetto, modern-day version of Bonnie and Clyde. The fact is, they were just friends. They were sliding buddies. Cess would drive. Neef was the notorious shooter. Cess' baby daddy will enter our story in a minute, so keep watching for his appearance. A month after her cousin, Maintain, was killed, John Wick almost lost his life when he was shot in his arm and abdomen. 2 days after that, on May 15, 2010, Anthony Welch was gunned down by Neef after his gun ran out of bullets. Witnesses reported seeing the driver of the car chasing Welch down during the shootout. Cess' daughter is a drill rapper named Blasian Doll.
Y'all call him Tay Savage, bro. I call him John Wick. Let's start there. The situation with him allegedly killing Blasian Doll mama, I know he killed that girl mama. He shot at me.
After a long, painful rehabilitation process, John Wick was ready to take revenge for his friend's murder. On February 5, 2011, at 2:05 a.m., Cess and a few other friends were parked in a parking lot on 2642 East 75th Street. They had just left a club on 87th Street and Ashland Avenue, and were heading to another one on 75th and Exchange. Cess and her sister exited the vehicle, since Cess needed to use the washroom. Moments later, a gunman who followed them from the club on 87th Street, in a blue truck, exited his vehicle, ran up, stopped in front of Cess, fired 5 to 6 shots at her, hitting her in the upper right leg, upper left leg, back, right chest, and twice in the stomach. He yelled out, "I told you, bitch," while firing shots, killing her on the scene. Cess's sister ran back in her vehicle where the gunman ran towards it, and fired a gunshot while she drove off. After the shooting, John Wick ran back to the blue truck, turned up the music, and started waving his gun around in the air. How do I know John Wick did it? Are you reading the report? Obviously, someone in the blue truck with him snitched. John Wick would eventually get charged with Cess's murder, but not before he put in a lot more work. Cess's sliding buddy, Neef, was the triggerman in Welch's murder that John Wick wanted to kill next. On April 10, 2011, at 4:30 p.m., Neef was stopped at a traffic light on 7400 South Vincennes Avenue when a gunman exited the car in front of him and opened fire. Neef threw his car into reverse trying to get away, but the gunman chased him while shooting, until Neef crashed his car. After the crash, the gunman still continued shooting at Neef, hitting him multiple times. Neef was pronounced dead at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The gunman escaped, so John Wick could bully more savages.
Just like almost every other story about so-called street legends, this one includes the murder of someone innocent. Darius Brown, a promising young basketball player, was on the court in Metcalf Park, doing what he loved, when he was shot dead. The 13-year-old, known for his speed and his shot, was playing in a game, in August 2011, when gang members, bent on revenge, opened fire. After the shooting, whether out of loyalty to the gangs, or fear of reprisal, would-be witnesses in the crowded park refused to talk to police. 5 men were eventually charged with Darius' murder. 2 of the men had connections to Princess Streeter. One was Jamal Streeter, her brother. The other, Aramis Beecham, her baby daddy. Both men were convicted of murder in separate trials.
The old three, Bonnie and Clyde, Hope and B, holla, all I need in this life to say, it's me and my girlfriend.
The day Darius died, Beecham and Streeter were targeting a member of Welch World in the park. That man wasn't hit, but he stayed with Darius until police arrived. He told officers he was the likely target, not Darius. Some have mistakenly reported that the man was John Wick, but he confirmed in interviews that he was not at Metcalf Park that day. Police enlisted the help of an informant, Keith Daniels. Authorities say Daniels located the weapon that was used to kill Darius, bought it on the street, and turned it over to police. Daniels didn't live to testify at the trials for Darius' murder. He was shot and killed in April 2013, in a slaying not apparently related to his help in the Darius Brown murder probe. Instead, he was killed in apparent retaliation for helping the feds take down the top of a street gang known as the Hobos. Investigators in the Darius Brown case moved forward, despite their informant's death. In a videotaped statement played at trial, Beecham told police he went to Metcalf Park, the morning of August 3, his 22nd birthday, to look for members of Welch World. "We were looking for the hats. I don't see no hats out there," he said. In the videotaped statement, Beecham also told investigators, he then went to pick up a gun from a man named Scabby. With his 8-month-old daughter in the car, let me say that again. With his 8-month-old daughter in the car, Beecham met with Streeter, and a third man named Vito Richmond, at 38th Street in Michigan. It was there that he handed off the gun, he said in his videotaped statement. For those wondering, the 8-month-old child was not Blasian Doll because she was 6 or 7 years old when John Wick killed her mom. According to his statement, Beecham, Streeter, and Richmond then drove to Metcalf Park, with Beecham in his girlfriend's white Nissan. Streeter, and Richmond in a Dodge Charger. At least 9 shots were fired from the Charger, with one hitting Darius, according to Beecham. Beecham's attorneys argued he had no part in the shooting, or its planning, and was focused on his birthday plans, which were to follow later that night, on the west side. To make a long story short, 5 niggas were eventually charged with conspiracy to commit murder. These self-proclaimed savages, and demons, indiscriminately fired shots into a crowded park. Sess's baby daddy tried to snitch on her brother, and his homie, but it didn't work. All of them niggas are in prison where they belong.
A lot of gangster shit happened, a lot of real street shit went on. So fast forward like a year later, you feel me? Fast forward like a year later, you feel me? Folks get locked up for some shit that happened on my block. On 59th and Cali, man, 2 niggas get shot up. They say Tay did it. Tay go get booked for attempt. They come to my cousin's crib looking for folks on BD, looking for him on King David. So when they looking for folks, he get his lawyer, he gonna turn himself in on King David. Now, when he turned himself in, he fight that shit. He ended up beating that shit in 2012. He come home. Now, when he home this time, nah, it's up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he beat the attempts, you know what I'm saying? It's all that he doing his thing. He going crazy, you know what I'm saying? He out here in the streets, all the car crackers linking with him, all the gangsters want to be his homie.
On April 14, 2012, at 2:25 a.m., police saw Darnell Robinson shoot another man outside of Deja Vu nightclub, located in a south suburban community named Dalton. Robinson exchanged gunshots with the police, and got his dumb ass killed. Darnell, also known as Dirty, was a member of the Rock Nation gang located on 27th and State. He dated Princess Streeter from the Ave, headquartered on 37th and Indiana, but things weren't just popping on the south side of Chicago. Niggas brought the south side to the suburbs.
So with Tay on some shit, boy, Tay, he everywhere on King David. Like, Tay everywhere on King David, he everywhere. You could have pulled up on Dro City, he would have been there. You could have pulled up on Oak Block, he would have been there. You could have pulled up on the Folly, Lamron, like, everybody at this point dick riding Tay. You know what I'm saying? Like, outside of certain niggas and shit, they dick riding folks on BD. They had I think this one, they had just robbed Tato and everything on BD, all that shit happened. Man, folks run around the city, everybody with him. Everybody want to be like Tay, want to be in this circle, want to have him in their contacts, folks. He everywhere.
After returning home from beating 2 attempt murders, John Wick reached his peak of popularity on the streets in the years 2012 through 2013. Gangsters like Tay Capone from 600 was close to John Wick, but other BDs, from his hood, felt a certain way about Welch World members because of rapper, Billionaire Black. Billionaire Black was a BD and member of Welch World, but moved from the low end to territory controlled by Chief Keef's ops. He was a founding member of the Fly Boys gang. Notable songs of his include No Action featuring FBG Duck, and Play Around featuring Lil J and P. Rico. Billionaire Black's allegiance with FBG led to some of their ops dissing Welch, including Tato and Ball Out from Sosa's Glow Gang. John Wick beat the shit out of them, robbed them for their jewelry, and showed them he'll treat a so-called savage from any hood like a goofy. The robbery didn't stop John Wick from hanging with his guys from O Block, OTF, and Lamron 300. He was with Lil Reese when there was a verbal altercation at Deja Vu nightclub, which led to the shootout where FYBJ Main says Tay Savage earned the nickname, John Wick.
I can't cap. Now, keep it mad. Me being FYBJ Main, on phone now, I'm really finna, I could have pulled a trade, you feel me? Yo, dope, let me out. It hit different when I pull a yo, dope, let me out. But it's my woo, this my get back, so I ain't pull that this time. On phone now, it hit different. Now, long story short, he pull up, he see the car. I check. They pull on the side block on phone number. Now they realize it's like Grand Theft Auto. You know when you get too close up on a motherfucker and now they see a motherfucker on their ass, now they know this is you now. It hit different. So now they know this is us, so they doing fluky shit. They pull on the side block on bro. How about the cop? I guess, keep in mind, that's Lil Reese to me. Catch my drift, that's Lil Reese. That's all I know, bro. That's Lil Reese. Somebody else do some John Wick shit, Sean. Ball on big cop. Blow back. Now the windows in the Vino, do your homework on the windows in the Vino. Windows bust out now. Keep in mind, J-Main, what you doing at this time? When they blowing back, J-Main like this, it's a Vino. Windows, the glass, do your homework on glass hitting me in the eye that night, Sean. Do your homework on glass hitting me in the eye.
2 attempts come on, and man, so many niggas they called it to my ear. Melly saying this, Melly saying that, Melly saying they catch Melly. Wow, I am good. So, man, one day we in a club. I run into Motor. You feel me? We got Reese with us. Now we not knowing that this like hottie day or some shit. You feel me? We in Deja Vu. So, so we see Motor. So I was locked over. You feel me? So, you know, we rotate with him and shit. Man, who Reese here with? He here with us. So, you know, we on his ass, man. Hey, you feel me? Here with us, good. So we kind of have words with him. Matter of fact, what Melly at anyway, man? I'm saying about this nigga Melly, man. He with you? So folks from around watching the band, I checked me. You tell him out here though, long story short, man, after that, man, it go left, you feel me? I get skinned in the nose, you feel me? And, you know, they type, but anyway, so long story short, my uncles, feel me? I got some uncles that's tied in with his uncles, you feel me? And so like the next morning they called me like, man, pull up on the banner. So I pull up, you got your mail Motor in the crib. Matter of fact, he asked me like, man, we had a situation last night. Man, pull up on me, holler. So I pull up, you feel me? He got Motor and your mail in the crib. So he, man, out the band, man, y'all need to squash that shit, out the band. So I tell him, I got some respect for my uncle, you feel me? So I tell him, like, man, look, like, between me and him, it could be like, you know, like on some, like, cordial, you feel me? But, you know, ain't no, it's blood, so ain't no squash.
John Wick could not squash the beef between 051 Young Money and Team 600, but he kept his promise to his uncle, and was on cordial terms with 051 Melly. As he explained it, his uncle was a gangster, his father was a gangster, his grandfather was a gangster, so he felt like it was in his blood to be one too. Remember, the year is 2013, there was no beef between OTF and Mobu Crump at this time. In fact, John Wick was introduced to Crump through Dirk and OTF. That explains the viral video of OTF Bezu, Mobu Crump, and John Wick sliding on ops while riding together in a car. And even though the beef between THF 46 Gang and 051 Young Money Gang was already popping, but the chief of THF 46, Bezu, and 051 Melly did not know what each other looked like. This is right before the rapid rise of social media. So, when Bezu was in a car with John Wick one day, and he pulled up on Melly, they did not recognize one another, so there was no violence. John Wick also clarified the rumor that he once stole a pipe from Lil Varney. He explained that they were friends of the time who often borrowed guns from each other. On October 17, 2013, John Wick was arrested for aggravated vehicular hijacking. He was held in Cook County Jail with a $325,000 bond. According to him, he spotted rapper C. Huncho's brother in a Monte Carlo on rims with his homie. He liked the car, so he took it from them. On November 4, 2013, at 10:20 a.m., while being held for the robbery, John Wick was charged with the murder of Cess. According to the report, during transport to the interview room, he asked, "This is about Princess Streeter, isn't it? What took you guys so long to come get me?" On March 12, 2014, at 10:45 a.m., while being held for Cess's murder and the robbery, he was charged with Neef's murder. This time, according to the report, he stated, "Guess y'all right, when you said you'd be back for me."
In January 2013, 051 Melly tweeted to a member of Welch World, "Man, I was just with Tay nigga. He y'all only shooter. Marco locked up. He just said y'all ain't on nothing. Cut the flexing out." In July 2013, a member from 757 Gang tweeted, on Cess grave, "I was on to block, all yesterday. Only MFers road though was, MTG, and Tay from Welch World." After John Wick's arrest in October 2013, another op from 757 tweeted, "Free Welch World only hitter, Tay." John Wick faced 3 trials in 2014. First up, was the case he caught for Cess's body. Her sister testified that she was able to identify the gunman's voice. She also said that she recognized his stature and body movements because she went to high school with the killer. Her testimony was not proof beyond a reasonable doubt in the eyes of the jury because the killer wore a mask. Next up, was the trial for the carjacking, but C. Huncho's brother, and his cousin, the other witness, were shot before the trial started. Luckily, they survived. John Wick's girlfriend, and 3 of his guys, were arrested in connection with the shootings. His lawyer was smart. He knew the odds of a not guilty verdict in the carjacking case, after the jury heard evidence of witness tampering, and more violence, was slim to none. He advised his client to plead out to 20 years at 50%, which was a great deal considering all of the death and destruction John Wick caused, but he still had one more body to beat. By the end of 2014, he did it. He won a not guilty verdict in Neef's murder. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for vehicular armed robbery, but he had an out date. The world that he would return to 8.5 years later with good time served would be a completely different world from the one he left in October 2013. In 2014, the once close relationship between Lil Durk and Mubu Crump would turn violent. Eventually, it would turn deadly. On May 31, 2014, 051 Melly murdered Durk's cousin, OTF Newski. In September 2014, at a meet and greet party in Chicago for rapper T.I., a brawl broke out when Crump had the audacity to invite his friend, Melly, to make an appearance. Like I said, this is after Melly killed Durk's cousin, Newski. After getting knocked out during the fight, Crump tweeted, "Dis nigga bay bay," referring to OTF Bezu, be doing a lot of woofing about Yarmal, referring to 051 Melly. And Tay used to have him in Dakar with de nigga. He ain't want no smoke. Niggas be actors. One of Crump's ops from 600 responded, "Bay bay can get you whacked." Around this time, John Wick would develop a relationship with King Von, who got locked up for the murder of Malcolm Stuckey in the summer of 2014. The following letter from Von to his big homie, written while both were in jail, and delivered through third parties, reveal Von's respect for John Wick. In April 2015, Crump started going back and forth with Huncho from Welch World, also known as Lil Dude, on Twitter, despite Huncho's affiliation with John Wick's gang. Remember, Huncho, because Lil Dude will re-enter our story in a couple of minutes. Crump tweeted at Huncho, "You can't beat us, on bro. Only reason you been alive dis long cause of Tay. Everybody know that. Ever since Tay been locked up, niggas been getting, went on, robbed, all type of shit. Free my nigga, Tay Savage, real nigga, can't get no bigger." In another tweet Crump wrote, At Lil Dude, not for that body. And I sent Tay some money. And Lou sent Tay some money cause you niggas wasn't acting right, and Tay was protecting you. In May 2015, Crump continued trolling members of Welch World when he wrote, "Whole crew full of bitches. Tay was the only gangsta." In September 2015, Crump let the whole world know how John Wick really felt about Dirk, and OTF, according to him. He wrote, "Twin be dick riding Dirk, and was stealing guns, and sneak dissing him. I should have let Tay rob y'all, on Dro. Bay was gone, let Tay rob Dirk on Dro. I told Tay, Dirk my homie, he respected it." In December 2015, Crump tweeted, "I knew Varney was a bitch when Tay took his gun. Miss me with the IG pics, and a rap shit. I'm not impressed." One of John Wick's ops from 757 wrote, "Free Tay. This shit boring." So, he was missed on the streets by both friends and enemies alike. On March 17, 2022, John Wick was released after being locked up in Vienna Correctional Center. He would start a career in rap and get right back to his bully shit.
I was doing some research with the chain situation, and for a while, I think a lot of people thought it was the Polo G Artist Young Live chain, because they seen him with it, but I seen in a song he said, like, ain't nobody take shit from him, and they took it from somebody from Chicago.
Nah, they poked him. Told them poked him. They poked him, you feel me? I was chopping up with him and everything, you feel me? Literally, I don't really know him, you feel me, but, like, you know, some of the guys that I'm real close with was vouching for him, like, nah, bro, this shit wasn't supposed to happen like that. You feel me? He out the band. Really, Livy got caught in that mix, bro. He got caught in that mix of something that ain't had nothing to do with him, you feel me? He, you know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers shit, green lighted it, you feel me? And that's just what it was, bro.
So, it wasn't somebody from Chicago chain? Because I was...
No, this is Livy chain. Livy got this took off, man.
Oh, so the chain, you got a video, another one?
Gotta be. You know, you have insurance and shit, so. Yeah, I don't know.
So, like, with him being caught in the middle, like, it wasn't no conversation where, like, he get it back and whoever.
I told him, like, bro, listen, I got a game, you feel me? Like, I'm gonna win it. Like, if you want your shit, bro, it ain't nothing personal against us, you feel me? If you want it, bro, just, you know what I'm saying? Shit, you know, hit my hand, you feel me?
Well, I guess Young Liv and Polo G didn't want their chain back bad enough to hit John Wick's hand with some cash, because I see him wearing it in music videos with Lil Reese. There are moments in interviews where John Wick sounds like a changed man, for instance, when he explained that he's no longer cool with Lil Durk, but he wished him nothing but the best, because they are both Muslims. There are other moments, where his dumbass talks about extorting rappers for their chain, like he didn't just get out of prison, or he posts the link to Blazing Doll's music video, to troll her, and chase clout. For better or worse, less than a year after his release from prison, John Wick released his first song called FOS, on January 1st, 2023. On April 5th, 051 Kiddo was released from prison, after getting locked up for an armed robbery, in November 2012, at the age of 16. On June 17, 2023, John Wick, and his homie, Bookie Da G, would drop a music video titled Glocks 2. In the song, Bookie Da G disses 051 Melly, and 051 Fathead. On June 22nd, Kiddo posted a tweet dissing his ops dead homies, including Welch. 4 days later, Kiddo posted another tweet dissing more dead ops, this time with Welch at the top of his list, and dropped his first music video titled, Don't Play With Us, on June 26th. Besides doing what we would expect him to do in his music video debut, This Is Dead Ops, Kiddo also included a scene where he kisses his girl. John Wick called her a linebacker. Kiddo responded, and the two tongue wrestled on Twitter. The following day, John Wick's homie from Welch World, and Lil Reese's manager, Huncho, also known as Lil Dude, was murdered at 3:20 p.m., on 43rd and Cottage Grove. Of course, 051 Kiddo mocked John Wick for his loss. 3 days later, a member from Welch World's longtime enemies, 757 Gang, was killed on June 30, 2023, and the never-ending cycle of violence continues.
We back with another one. He thought I wasn't gonna beat no another one or something. Do he did. Hey, we got FYBJ Man and John Wick and do he did. I got Tay Savage on the roof. Do he did. Tay, how you coming?
Nope, ain't no shit, some shit.
I got some old whoops, bro. It do hit different. Now, a lot of the fans want to know, bro. I ain't even gonna cap too. Seeming as though you shot at me, bro. How many bodies you got, bro? It hit different.